there's been a lot of hype around the media tour, new jobs, Reaper, Sage, and all this stuff. And I'm super excited. But there's one thing that came out of the media tour that made me really excited. And that was the interview between Asmongold and Rich and Yoshi-P. And there's some things that Yoshi-P said that I want to talk about because I feel like there's a lot that we can learn from it as gamers. And I just love his answers to a lot of these things. What's up, good people? It's your Final Fantasy homie Jay, and I'm not gonna talk about everything. I definitely want you to take time and go set it out. But that was like 2 or 3 things that really stuck out to me that I thought it'd be great to just kind of emphasize in this video. And hopefully, you check out the video and it helps you out a lot. But one of the things that Yoshi-P was talking about was there was a question on, how the game is designed for new players and veteran players, and how they able to find that balance. And one of the things that Yoshi-P talks about in there is that he says it's very important to understand that for veteran players, we need to make sure we don't take the excitement away from new players. You see on the comments, you see in streams how people are trying to tell people how to play. Even from my own personal experience, like I took on Black Mage and it's been one of the most fun experiences I've had right outside of Monk. I am fully enjoying Black Mage. I'm having so much fun with it. I am pushing my limits to Black Mage, working on getting it better and better. And there was a time where people was trying to suggest I should tinker off into another, tinker off to Monk or other class because it's an easier way. It just makes things less complicated and it'll be kind of just a smoother ride. And for me, if I did that, I feel like that would kind of ruin some of the joy of doing some of the content that this is referring to and challenging myself to be a better player. And remember that when you're in these dungeons and you learn how to tank and people are telling you, you ain't doing it right, which is nice to take that advice where people are trying to prevent you to play something that you're not happy with, whether that's, you don't want to be a healer, you don't want to be a tank, or, you don't want to play any one DPS because that's like the thing to play. It's okay. Like, be comfortable with playing the class that you have fun with. And there's a difference between growing in that class and being oblivious to wanting to grow at all. As players, I feel like, even as casual players, there's a level of growth that we want to accomplish. And as hardcore players or in-game players, there's a level of perfection that you want to complete. And being okay to understand that, like, at the end of the day, you got to play what you enjoy. And if you're not playing what you enjoy, then why are you playing the game? You know what I'm saying? So, we play Final Fantasy for the fun, for the enjoyment, for the growth, for the self-accomplishments, whether that's clearing a savage raid, whether that's conquering ultimate and getting that legend title, or whether it's, doing deep dungeons and clearing it by yourself, or just, completing your dailies. And being comfortable, like Yoshi-P said, is and allowing the new player or players who are coming back to enjoy the game the way they want to play it. Us veterans need to step aside and allow those people to go through the journey like we did when we first played, because we didn't have people tell us what to do, and we didn't want people to tell us what to do on what classes we should play. We listened to feedback on how to get better, but as far as the class themselves, or what we want to do in the game, whether that's being a crafter guide or a PvP guide, or something outside of the norm of just doing battles, then that's perfectly fine. Gotta enjoy the game that you want to enjoy it. So I thought that was so dope hearing that from Yoshi-P himself on how, like, people with the big voices need to take a step back and allow those people to enjoy the game they would like to. So that was dope. The second thing I thought was like super sick was that Yoshi-P talks about how he plays the game. He actually plays Final Fantasy, and that he is dwelled in it. If you're in the parsing, he parses high, he completes all the, he does savages, he does ultimate content, he hops into people's parties and tries to run it with them. He's always looking to, like, he wants to be the best Black Mage, which is crazy because now I'm playing Black Mage, and so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be Yoshi-P's protege. But how he's so involved in the game that he created, and it's crazy to hear a developer who loves the game as much as he does, and who's also part of the community. We hear a lot that, like, he talks about this in the interview, is how, like, it's this battle between the community and devs on what they think is best for the game. But Yoshi-P is the community and he's the dev, so he gets to experience it like we do, and also understand why we feel the way we feel sometimes. And I feel like that's why a lot of quality of life is coming to a lot of these classes, as far as like things becoming that used to be an active ability becoming passives. or just traits, because it just makes sense, because there's more transitions and fights, and it just makes everything more smoother. Yoshi-P been involved in the community, I feel like it's kind of and I think Asmongold spoke on this too. It's kind of like the reason the community is the way it is, because he is leading by example. He is the community. He is the developer, and he is being involved just as much as we are in his game. And I feel like that is a great example a lot of developers can take, is like, play your game, understand why people don't like it, and then progress from there. The last thing I was talking about is the cool balance that not just Yoshi-P, but Final Fantasy as a whole has came up with, with Yoshi-P is leading, is that, and he talks about this in the interview, is that how they understand that a good portion of their community is casual, but also there's a good portion of them who are hardcore. And him himself is a competitor. He's a hardcore competitor. He has the drive to want to be the best of the best. Like I said, he said he wants to be the best black mage, but I'm coming for Yoshi-P, so we're gonna have to battle that out, bro. And how, finding that balance between make sure everybody has something that they need. And I feel like Final Fantasy, and I said this in my video, Final Fantasy had done a great job in making sure everybody gets a little love, but also understanding that, and he says this in the interviews, that the loud voices are usually the hardcore people. The casual people aren't the ones who are blowing up, Reddits or comments, or they aren't usually ones who are talking about things they don't like. So sometimes that's a skew when new players are coming in, that they see these issues, but it's really from like kind of the hardcore players. The casual players aren't as loud, and understanding that like those casual players also play a very big part of Final Fantasy. And as players, that we can appreciate that, because I was a casual player. I'm definitely still a casual player, but I started tinkering, getting into the in-game stuff, and like enjoying that. But I feel like I would have never done that if the group that I was with didn't accept my casualness into the raid. If it was just a raider, it was just a full group of hardcore raiders who only wanted to raid 5 days a week, and they didn't care that I was married and I got a full-time job and I got like 3 other things going on outside of my life, and that I can't commit 100% to Final Fantasy, then it wouldn't have worked. But they allowed me to be myself in my group, and that brought a casual player like myself into playing in-game. And that's something that we can all do when we go into these dungeons, when we go into these trial fights, when we go into raids and we see those sprouts, and to encourage them, and to continue to play the game, because without these players, you don't have a community. And continuing to build that love for, like, it's okay to make a mistake. The person who's watching this, you was not a grade A tank on day one. You did not know ninja rotation as soon as you picked it up. You wiped your party healing because you forgot you was the healer at some point. Like, it has happened. And I think when we do these raids and do these dungeons, we forget the simple human trait of just showing empathy for new players sometimes, and just making sure that we continue to do that, because the community that we love so much change if that doesn't happen. And Yoshi-P talks about that in the interview, and it's such an awesome conversation. But those 3 things really stuck out on me, because that's a lot of what the community I'm building here is about understanding that, like, hey, look, I can be a raider and it can be fun. And that's why when I do stream raids, it has to, I have to feel that it's going to be a fun night, because that's not what the message and what this community is about here that we've created. And shout out to everybody who is part of the community, who has joined the Discord, whether you left a comment in YouTube or you chatted up in Discord. I appreciate y'all, because we are building a really dope community with a group of people with different thought processes, but we all understand that it's just a dope time together. And I'm glad that I can help inspire that. So as always, if you want to join me, hang out with me, talk with me privately, or talk to me in the group, my Discord link is in the description below. Hang out with me on the streams. And as always, happy questing. Go watch the interview. I think it was such a great learning experience. Yeah, there's new jobs and stuff, but that interview was fire.